Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Japan Life Hacks. I'm delighted to have you join me for today's video. In this video, I will explain the overall picture of bookkeeping. You will learn a wide range of concepts specific to bookkeeping and even the final output. Now, let's get started. Here is my profile. On this channel, I am sharing information in English to help foreigners living in Japan become financially prosperous. If you can support me, please give me a thumbs up. This will help boost my motivation for creating videos, leading to even better content in the next video. Let's work together to create great contents. In companies, daily transactions are recorded in account ledgers. Bookkeeping is the technique of recording information about these transactions in the account ledgers. One method of bookkeeping is known as double-entry bookkeeping. The process of recording transaction details in books is called journal entries. Now, let's look at an example of a simple journal entry. Paid employee salaries of 1,000 yen in cash. The journal entry is as follows. Left side, salaries expense 1,000. Right side, cash 1,000. Terms used for bookkeeping purposes, such as salaries expense and cash, are referred to as account name. In the journal entry, salaries were written on the left side and cash on the right side. In bookkeeping, the left side is called debit and the right side is called credit. It's advisable to simply memorize these terms as they are just names. It might be helpful to associate them with the shapes of the Japanese hiragana characters. In bookkeeping journal entries, a distinctive feature is that the values on the debit side always match the values on the credit side. As we proceed with numerous entries, let's ensure to verify this correspondence each time. Next, I will explain 5 elements in bookkeeping. This table is the most important in this video. Memorizing this table as quickly as possible is necessary for improving your bookkeeping skills. When classifying account name, they can be divided into 5 elements as shown in the table. Assets, liabilities, equity, expenses, and revenue. When making journal entries, if there is an increase in any account name, it will be recorded on either the left or right side. In other words, if an asset increases, it will be recorded on the debit side, and if it decreases, it will be recorded on the credit side. For liabilities, if there is an increase, it will be recorded on the credit side, and if it decreases, it will be recorded on the debit side. Please make sure to remember these 5 positions. Let's take another look at the previous journal entry. Paid employee salaries of 1,000 yen in cash. Salaries are classified as expenses, while cash is classified as an asset. Let's interpret this transaction using the 5 elements of bookkeeping. An increase in expenses. This position is debit. Therefore, we record salary expenses as a debit. A decrease in assets. This position is credit. Therefore, we record cash as a credit. We will make journal entries with this in mind. For those new to learning bookkeeping, this concept is often the first stumbling block. I stumbled upon it myself. Therefore, it's completely okay if you haven't fully understood it at this stage. I have prepared practice exercises at the end of this video, so let's get accustomed to it together there. Now, let's proceed to learn about each of the 5 elements. Assets. Items that can be evaluated in monetary terms or rights to receive money. For example, cash, land and loans receivable are classified as assets. When a company lends money to another company, it creates a loan receivable, representing the right to receive the money back later. Liabilities. An obligation to pay money. For example, loans payable is classified as liabilities. It represents the obligation to repay money later because the company is in a state of borrowing money from other companies or banks. Equity. Balance obtained by subtracting liabilities from assets because assets is the sum of liabilities and equity. For example, share capital is classified as assets. Share capital refers to the money paid in by shareholders, and there is no obligation for repayment. Expenses. The factor of outgoing money. For example, salaries expense and rent expense are classified as expenses. Revenue. The factor of incoming money. For example, sales and interest income are classified as revenue. As you progress in your studies, you'll be journalizing various account names. Each time, strive to remember which of the 5 elements the account belongs to. Maintaining this awareness significantly advances your understanding of bookkeeping. Conversely, neglecting this aspect might make mastering bookkeeping challenging. Next, I will explain the financial statements. The ultimate goal of bookkeeping is to create a balance sheet and profit and loss statement. The balance sheet consists of assets, liabilities, and equity. This represents the stock of assets, liabilities, and equity at a specific point in time. The profit and loss statement consists of expenses and revenues. This represents how much expenses and revenues occurred over a specific period. By subtracting expenses from revenues, we can calculate how much profit a company made during a specific period. Sure, let's start solving the practice exercises. There are a total of 3 practice exercises. I deposited cash 500 yen in the savings account. Cash and savings account are classified as assets. An increase in assets. Savings account. This position is debit. Therefore, we record savings account as a debit. A decrease in assets. Cash. This position is credit. Therefore, we record cash as a credit. Let's move on to the next question. I borrowed 2,000 yen from the bank, and it was deposited into the savings account. An increase in assets, savings account. This position is debit. Therefore, we record savings account as a debit. An increase in liabilities, loans payable. This position is credit. Therefore, we record loans payable as a credit. This is the final question. I sold a merchandise for 10 yen, and the payment will be received at a later date. An increase in assets, accounts receivable trade. This position is debit. Therefore, we record accounts receivable trade as a debit. An increase in revenue, sales. This position is credit. Therefore, we record sales as a credit. Thank you for watching the video. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Your comments are the driving force behind the creation of my next video, so please feel free to leave them. Thank you very much in advance. See you next time.